What's up, beautiful people? This is Mike from Mike Gets Well and hope you're having an amazing day. In today's video, I'm going to be walking you through the PlayStation 5 settings for the Samsung QD OLED S95B. So make sure to hit the like on this video, guys. It's really going to help me a lot, and thank you so much for already doing that. And make sure to hit the notification bell as well, because that's going to tell you whenever the videos are uploaded on the channel, and consider subscribing to the channel. Now, without any further ado, let's just get into these settings, and I'm going to talk about the PlayStation 5 settings for the 120 Hz, how to activate that, and also how to activate the HGiG on the Samsung S95B. So stay tuned and let's get into these settings. So on the remote control, I'm going to press the button for the home menu to show you guys what happens when you actually connect the PlayStation 5 to the S95B. So let's go to the home screen, and I'm going to head down to the menu where you can see that in the connected devices, I have the Chromecast connected with the HDMI, and then I have the PlayStation 5 connected. So it's going to automatically kick in the game mode for you in the auto settings. So as soon as you have the PlayStation 5 plugged into any of the HDMI ports on the S95B, because these all ports are 4K 120 Hz HDMI 2.1 full 48 GB bandwidth ports, so you can connect now to the any ports. That was my complaint last year with the Samsung QN90A. We had only one HDMI 2.1 port, and that was on the eARC port. So you couldn't use any receiver. If you're using receiver, you couldn't use any console because the HDMI is taken by the ARC HDMI, but let's forget about all of that. Samsung has recovered from that, and they have I can give you the example that they just came, saw, and conquered. That's how the S95B is. So now the PlayStation 5, as soon as it's connected to the HDMI, is going to show as like that with the logo and PlayStation 5 name by itself by default. And you don't have to do anything here. It's going to turn on the game mode for you. It's going to turn everything that is required for gaming. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to the settings. So in the settings, we are in the game mode, and I'm going to go in the expert setting. And in there, I want to make sure that I'm getting the bright sharpness to the 0, because we don't need any added sharpness from the TV. It's already sharp enough content. Mostly it's 4K, so you don't need added sharpness, because then you're gonna have the artifacts when you have the motion interpolation enabled. So we're gonna keep it at 0. Okay, then we're gonna go and see the contrast enhancer. It's set to high. We're gonna turn it off, because otherwise it's gonna over brighten our screen. So what the EOTF is gonna kick the entire screen to be really over brightened, so we're gonna turn it off. Then we have the color tone, which is the standard. You can choose a standard if you like it to be like that. I mostly prefer to be it warm too. And that's where it is tracking the D65 white point. So I'm going to keep it right here, but it's up to you if you want to use standard, warm, or warm too. It's up to you. I'm not just gonna set the hard rule that you have to just choose warm too. It's just up to you. You're not gonna touch gamma. It's gonna adjust the intensity of the gamma. If you increase it, it's going to brighten the screen. If you decrease it, it's going to darken the screen. So we're going to keep it right there. So it's going to follow that specific gamma curve. Shadow detail is going to crush the shadow detail. If we bring it lower, it's going to enhance the shadow details if we take it to a higher level. But the good thing about this TV is that it doesn't crush shadow details anyways, so you don't have to play with it at all. It used to be the issue with the WRGB OLEDs, where you have the crushed blacks and the shadow details, they get destroyed. But in this TV, you don't have to worry about it. Even the tiniest of the shadow details, you can see that easily on the screen. The color space, I'm going to keep it normal the way it is. By default, peak brightness is going to be high, because we are trying to get the maximum out of it with the HDR. So that's what we have done here in the picture settings. Now we're going to go to the connections, and we're going to go to the game mode settings. You're going to notice that the game mode is auto. I prefer to keep it at auto, because when you're sending the signal, which is for the game, it's going to keep it in the game mode. Whenever you're doing streaming, let's say Netflix, it's going to switch to movie picture mode or the filmmaker, whichever you prefer. So I'm going to keep it at auto. Then we have the game motion plus. Dynamic black equalizer. It's also for, if you want to get the improved black details and clarity. Honestly, with this TV, you don't have to touch this and leave it like this at 0. You don't have to tweak any settings unless you're having any issues with the, the contrast or clarity with the black details, which is not the issue with the S95B at all. So Game Motion Plus, I'm going to talk about this later. Let's get into the HDR tone mapping, where I'm going to go and enable the HGiG. So we go in the game HDR tone mapping, where we have the HDR Tone Plus Gaming. So if you turn it off, you will not have any HDR. So you have to make sure that you keep it on basic at least, where it's going to track the original content's intention, and it's going to just give you that, the creative intent. So keep it at basic. If you go advanced, it's going to maximize visual impact, so you're going to have crazy brightness and all that. And there's no game which is actually HDR Tone Plus right now, so we're going to keep it at basic. And as soon as you do that, then we're going to have to go and enable the game HDR. So basic and then game HDR. That's how you have the HGiG enabled. So you're going to keep basic, game HDR, and now we're going to get out of it. Okay, now let's talk about the Game Motion Plus settings. You can enable it, but it's mostly preferred for those games which are, let's say, 30 FPS or even 60 FPS. It's going to enhance that experience and take you to a very smooth motion interpolation, where you're not going to have any kind of, how you have the added input lag when you're in the movie picture mode, because when you activate the motion interpolation there, you have the higher input lag. But the way Samsung has designed this Game Motion Plus settings, and is only with the Samsung TVs, and it's really a plus feature with the Samsung, which just gets a little underwhelmed. So you can use this feature for those games which are 30 FPS and 60 FPS. If they're already in 120 FPS, you don't really need to use Game Motion Plus, because you're already getting those 120 FPS frames. But if you are not using those 120 FPS, you have some old games, Game Motion Plus is just amazing, especially for the racing games which are like 30 FPS games or 60 FPS. You can enable it to get the 120 FPS. I'm going to go back to the setting. It just disappeared for a second. It was in the connections, in the game mode settings, and Game Motion Plus settings. So you can enable it, but once you enable it, it's going to be at 0 for the motion blur, especially for the gamings, for the fast movements. You're going to have the motion blur, so you can reduce that. And then jitter reduction, which is, when you're moving faster, you have those fast moving scenes, you can barely see what's going on. So you get the eye fatigue when you're looking at those fast motions. So you can control that by going and increasing the jitter reduction. What I found that keeping it at like 5.5, that's where I want it to be. If I go more than that, I get the soap opera effect, and I don't really like that at all. So this has been my setting right here with 5, and I've been using with the Ratchet Clank, and it was working literally amazing. So let's go 5.5. If you go above 5, you're literally gonna be having those soap opera effect, which people don't like. The clear motion, I don't know what does it do, but if you click on it, it's gonna have this flicker and all that stuff happening. Clear motion is kind of similar to how we have the OLED Motion Pro. How you have the high, low, which you don't have anymore in the LG OLED C2. You have only one setting, but this kind of mimics that, but I never use it, so I'm gonna just disable it. And we are all set. I'm gonna actually disable it right now. It's just up to you. Whenever you're doing the gaming, which is the 30 FPS kind of gaming, you want to play in the fidelity mode, and you can turn on this feature. If you don't really need it, you can just turn it off and come back later and turn it on. So let's turn it on, because I'm not playing any Call of Duty or where I'm gonna be worried about the input lag or anything. So we are all set. We have activated the HGiG. Now the main thing that we have to do is in the PlayStation 5. So let's go to the PlayStation 5 settings. And in the PlayStation 5 settings, we're gonna go down to the screen and video output information. And we wanna make sure that we have up to 120 Hz supported. And we can see that it does actually support up to 120 Hz. Okay, so that's there. Then the HDR, I always keep it on when supported, because if you have it always on, you're always gonna have the HDR, even from the interface of the PlayStation. And then you're gonna have the movies and TV shows if you watch it on PlayStation, and also some games which are in SDR. It's gonna be forcing the HDR always. So it's better to keep it on when supported. So it's gonna switch automatically whenever there's HDR signal. So I'm gonna keep it right here. Then one more thing that we have to do is make sure that enable 120 Hz output for the gaming. So we have it on automatic. And now we go to save data in game app settings and make sure in the game presets we have the performance mode enabled. If you do not have the performance mode enabled, you're not going to have the 120 Hertz. The game is going to choose by default. Mostly it is the resolution mode, which is the lower FPS settings. So you have to make sure that you are in the performance mode. Once you're done from here, literally there's nothing else you have to do. But one thing that's really important. So go back to the screen and video. Remember, we didn't do just HDR in the beginning because first we wanted to make sure we do all the stuff on the TV. We enable the HGiG. Since now we have the HGiG enabled, we're gonna go in the adjust HDR and just follow those instructions. As you can see that it has nothing showing up on the screen. So we have to make sure that we can see that logo showing barely visible. So right here we have it. I hope you can see it. I'm recording it in the HDR, so I hope you guys are watching it on a phone which supports the HDR so you can see it. All right, I'm just gonna follow the basic instructions for this TV because there's no click information right now out there. So I'm just following what it says on the PlayStation 5 menu for the HGiG. I'm doing just 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see how many clicks I'm doing. It's about 9 clicks in total, and let's go. Okay, here it's barely visible. So I just followed the instructions and did the adjust HDR calibration in the PlayStation 5. Now let me go back. All right, now it's ready to roll. Now we're gonna go to the Ratchet Clank, and you can see we have the really good HDR picture, which is not really crazy over brightened picture. We have really subtle, proper following the the reference quality picture settings. So you can see the colors and everything, the shadow details. This is one of the good things about the S95B, that I don't see the shadow details are getting crushed when the HGiG is enabled. Mostly when you have the HGiG, usually the details are crushed. But in this one, you can see right here that nothing seems to be crushed and it's working properly the way it's intended to be. Totally, this looks so beautiful. I don't play this game as much, but it's just really amazing. It's a feast to your eyes, when you're watching this game on the S95B. Oh, I didn't know that it was gonna hit me. Okay, let them kill me. I don't care. I just want to show you guys these HDR. Look at this. These beams right here. It looks literally amazing. I have used the other OLED TVs, but whenever you kick in the HGiG, you do calibration, it makes the screen dark, and that was the issue, and people would go and start using the dynamic tone mapping. But in this game right here, it just keeps it together. You have amazing shadow details, as you can see. Let me go towards the dark areas. Beautiful. All right, I think this is absolutely stunning picture quality that you can get from the S95B. It has solved all of those issues we had with the WRGB OLED, and you can see in the dark now clearly. And guys, if you have any question, let me know in the comment section. And also make sure to like this video, don't forget that, and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you guys in another video. Until then, peace out.